Welcome back, y'all. It's your boy Wendy, and we are coming to you on Friday, February 24th, with our best picks to try to win y'all some money back. But before we get into that, let's recap over yesterday's games for the 23rd. We ended up going 12 and 14 due to a couple voided bets we had with Damian Lillard, and then Embiid and Scotty Barnes just being off by a couple of points and a rebound. That puts us at 71 and 15 for the year. For those keeping track at home, not terrible by any means. Probably better than a lot of the people on here. So y'all should definitely maybe check out us a little bit more. Maybe you get a little better results. And then we'll be checking in on our big ladder challenge that Ben will be putting somewhere on the screen. We ended up getting all green on there, thanks to LeBron kind of picking it up in the second half. He had us a little scared. I think he only had 3 assists and a rebound at the beginning, and Kyrie picked it up in the fourth quarter like he always does. So make sure to check out the TikTok for that tomorrow. We'll be putting up, I think, $85 or $87, trying to double that. Make sure to follow along. And then after that, we had some bigger bets that we put in ourselves, going off of a lot of our own picks. If you want to try and see about maybe going with us on those, maybe seeing something you like out of them, we can start posting them on our Instagram. Ben will also be putting that somewhere. Probably put a link in the description to the Trippy Redhead Instagram page. Hopefully win some bets. I think I had a 17-legger hit, and he had also 10 to 12, somewhere in there. Made a bit of cheese off little $5, $10 bets. Now, without further ado, let's get to these picks for February 24th. So, starting off the night, we have the Knicks and the Wizards game. In this game, we'll see the Knickerbockers traveling to Washington to take on the Wizards. And Bando and I both got 20-point scores in this one. Bando riding with Brunson, myself with Kristaps. In the last 10 for Kristaps, he's averaged 26. He's been up from what he's normally been at, which is around 24, 22 this season. He's had 24 in away games as well, and then 22 against the Knicks in their 2 matchups. He put up 21 and 22. So we were looking for him to continue this high scoring run he's been on. As well as Bando having Brunson. He's hit this in 10 out of his last 10 games. Obviously, he's been carrying a lot of load for the Knicks so far this season, showing why he's worth money. Against the Wizards so far, he's been killing it. He's got 33 points against them through 2 games, and we're really seeing these as 2 locks. I mean, I've already got picks for both of these players in my parlays, and it's late at night, and they're already out, so we're riding with them. After that, we're going to have the Cavs and the Hawks game. Again, Ben and I are thinking alike through this one. We really like the rebound numbers. Obviously, Evan Mobley's going to be in there for 6. There's not really much more to talk about for him other than so far about 99% of the time he's going to hit this line. He's crazy with it. He's been arguably one of the best rookies out there. And then I will be taking Jarrett Allen for myself for 8 rebounds. He's been averaging 10 a game so far this year, and 11 against Atlanta. Going up against Clint Capella is always a little tough trying to grab boards, because that's pretty much his only job other than maybe getting a second chance bucket there. But we're just going to be looking for a solid game from them at this point. Just something that you might want to add to the tail end of your bet, just to add on a little bit of money, a little bit more like plus-wise after you get a lot on there. So just be looking for them to have another solid performance against this Atlanta team who struggles on defense. Now we see another 2 set of teams coming off the All-Star break in the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. Not a lot out so far at the time of filming this for lines. So we decided to go with the kind of safer routes, but still decent lines for the time that we're filming. Got Bando taking Caleb Martin for 4 rebounds at -350. He's hit this in 10 out of his last 10 games and had 9 against the Bucks in their last matchup. Although that's kind of high for him. He's been averaging 5 so far this year, and he's been very consistent at getting to that 5 number. So we're going to be looking for him to just continue playing his role, getting, I believe, 1 to 2 offensive rebounds a game, plus his 3 to 4 on defense. And then I will be taking Jimmy for 6. He's averaging, I think, exactly 6 this year, and I believe he's at 7 in the 3 matchups. He had one really low game with 4, and then another 2 with 8 and 11. So I'm going to be looking for him to try and still maintain that goal, even though he has been scoring a lot more as of recent. It's dropped his numbers down a bit, but we're still gonna hope that he continues to go with this trend. And then next up, we're gonna see a team that was self-imploding and another team that's just struggling to find themselves in the Nets and the Bulls. This is another game where Bando and I really like kind of the same lines, just different players. Bando taking Mikal Bridges for 15 and myself being a believer in Spencer Dinwiddie for 15. So far, Dinwiddie's been kind of streaky as a net, putting up 28, then 9, then 25, then 9 again. But after a long break for the All-Star game, we're going to see them starting to get their chemistry together, especially with these 2 scorers, and then working some things out with Nick Claxton to get him his buckets that he's been getting used to averaging. And then after that, for Bridges on Bando's side, he's hit this in 14 out of his last 15 games, and 2 out of his last 3 as a net. We saw him put up 45 in his last matchup. And, you know, they both are players that are used to putting up somewhere between 13 to 18 shots a game, being a second option, and now that they're both kind of in a role where they could be the first or the second either night, whoever's hot, we're just going to look for them to try and get above that average on most nights. This is going to be a very fluctuating line, but also just something that you're going to be able to rely on in the future with these players. Next up, we're going to be seeing the Hornets and the Timberwolves game. This is a little tougher one to go with due to Timberwolves losing D'Angelo Russell and the Hornets just having a very, subpar year. But I'll be taking Mike Conley, new player to the Wolves, for 6 assists. He's hit this in 11 out of his last 13 games and 2 out of his last 3 as a Wolf. I think he had 3, 6, and 9 through those. But he's very much used to putting up, 7 a game, especially as he's gotten older. He's been seen more as that role and some shooting, especially going up against a team that has a lot of poor defense except for LaMelo Ball. Somebody with that length, he's going to have to look more to facilitate than try to score on. And then on Bando's side, he will be taking LaMelo Ball, also due to his length. He's going to be going for 6 rebounds. He's hit this in 10 out of his last 10. He's been looking like a lock for this line as of recent. We're going to be looking at it to fluctuate throughout the day depending on who's playing and who's not. Just try to find it at its best price, and I don't see any reason not to take it. That's probably going to be our lock for the day. Now, this is one of our tougher games to pick from, the Suns and Thunder game, just due to the Thunder being a younger team and the Suns battling injuries most of the year. I ended up siding with DeAndre Ayton. I'm not sure on how much yet, but I'm either going to be going with 8 or 10 rebounds, but more than likely 8 unless that line is just awful. He's averaging 11 so far this year, and playing a team that really doesn't have one player that stands out on the boards. A lot of them average 4, aside from Josh Giddey averaging 7. But as a true center, if you don't have anyone averaging over 6, it's not a very good look. And DeAndre Ayton, being a traditional center, we're going to be looking for him to capitalize on this matchup. Now, on Bando's side, he's looking at SGA, who is having an amazing season. He just put up 39 last night, and we're going to be looking for him to get 25 points. He's hit this in 8 out of his last 10 games, and he's putting up about 20 shots a game. So you can really expect him around 45%, 50% to hit this line with free throws, of course. And, you know, with Paul guarding him, another older point guard that, you know, has probably lost a step and has always kind of had to be hidden on the defensive side. We'll be looking for SGA to make the Suns kind of adapt to his play style and try to switch, and hopefully he can take advantage of those matchups. For our 7th game of the night, we see the Warriors playing the Rockets. Now the Warriors are coming off of a back-to-back. Curry is still injured. Wiggins is day-to-day. This is probably the toughest game to bet on we've seen. You could always take maybe a Jalen Green for 15 points, possibly an Andrew Wiggins for 15 points. You could decide whether you think Poole or Thompson is going to go crazy that night, get 25 for him, or 20, or however much you think. But we are trying to go with a little bit safer route. We're going with Alfred Sengun for 8 rebounds. Now, he hasn't played well rebounding against the Warriors this year necessarily, but he's averaging 9 on the road and hasn't been below 8 rebounds a game in any month so far this season, on average at least. And he's going up against a team that gives up a lot of boards, as well as it kind of fluctuates who grabs them that night. Like last night we see Draymond pulling down 11. Another night you might see Looney. But Sengun really is good about sticking to around this number, so we'll be looking for him to step up. And lastly, rounding out the night, we see the Clippers taking on the Kings in a battle for the top of their division. They're both at 33 wins, I believe, after that destruction of the Trailblazers. A big game from Sabonis. Bano will be taking PG-13, one of my favorite players, to drop 20 in this matchup. The last time they played the Kings, it was with no Kawhi, and Paul George ended up dropping 40 against them. He's hit this line in 7 out of his last 10 games, and we're just hoping to see just a solid performance. We don't need 40 out of him, but putting up enough shots to hit this line, obviously. And on my side, we're going to do the first thing, or we're doing this for the first time. We're going for the Sabonis under. Now, he was at 13.5 rebounds last night against Trailblazers. This might drop down to 12 or 11. Hopefully nothing below 12.5. But against the Clippers, he's very much struggled this season. He's only averaging 7.5. And normally after a big game, he tends to drop down a bit. He's honestly been under this line in 11 out of his last 15. He's been around 10 to 11 rebounds a game. So as long as we don't drop below 12.5, this will be the line we will be following for our under. So y'all, that ends our video for the day. Make sure to like and subscribe. We're trying to get this to blow up. Also check out the TikTok if you feel like following our ladder challenge. You know, hopefully we get to 40K. Or FanDuel, we win too much and they kick us off. And then lastly, make sure to check out our Instagrams and then our page's Instagram that we'll be putting on here for following our bigger picks, like the ones mentioned at the beginning of the video. And lastly, y'all just gamble safe and happy parlaying.